Hi there, I'm Tom. Welcome to Tom's Grinder Lab. This is a review of the WPM ZD-170D Grinder. Sexier name as you could ever come up with for a grinder, I guess, but I guess WPM have their reasons for that. It is, however, a good value, durable, full-featured hopper grinder, and I think the first hopper grinder that I've actually reviewed. Most of the reviews I've done have been for single dose. In fact, I think all of them have been, but here it is, in the flesh, so to speak, digital flesh. Can be, I think some people would regard it as quite a good looking grinder, but beauty is in the eye of the beholder, of course. If you're not sure about who WPM are, they gave us the quite wonderful espresso machine, the KD310 GBS, and there is a review on my channel of this machine. Also, there was a review of the ZP1, which was created, designed, and engineered by WPM, one of my all-time favorite grinders. It really is very special. If you're looking for a high-end single-dose grinder, then I recommend you check out the reviews somewhere on my channel. Let's rock and roll. Here is our agenda, summary specs in the Grinder Lab, what I don't like, what I like the most, and who it's best for. Rock and roll time. Now, I always give you the summary up front because I know it saves you scrolling to the end of the conclusion. And I break this summary down into 6 component parts: aesthetics, workflow, value, espresso, filter, and what is it like for milk. For aesthetics, I'm only going to give it 3 out of 5 stars. Now, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. If you want to give it 5 beans, I should say, out of 5, you can, or 1 bean, it's up to you. It's not a bad looking grinder. I just think it's kind of average. So it's 3 out of 5 beans. Workflow, going to give it 5 out of 5. It's really well sorted and be a hopper-based grinder. You can chuck in, I think, 240 grams of beans if you want to, or you can just have, say, 2 days supply. I'll show you how I recommend you use it in a moment. Value, 4 out of 5 beans. It's one of those grinders, like a lot of WPM equipment, with the exception of the ZP1, where you look at it and you think, looks kind of ordinary, looks kind of average. But when you actually unpack the features, you start to discover how full-featured it is and how beneficial those features are. So I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 beans. Espresso, I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 beans. I think it's really good for espresso. The asterisk here indicates a caveat. It's not a grinder that is built for light beans. If you want that bright, juicy, more acidic leaning, light and cinnamon based beans for espresso, it's not for that. But to be fair, it wasn't built for that. It's built for the medium dark, and perhaps even the Vienna or French, Southern Italian type beans, which are darker roast. And for that purpose, it really is a cracker set of burrs. The burrs have been upgraded recently, and I think the improvements shine in the cup. For filter, 2 out of 5. Will it do filter? Yes, it will. And it has a very good habit of returning back to espresso to the right setting. So that's a really big plus if you wanted to use a grinder for espresso and filter. However, it's not a filter grinder, let's be clear. It doesn't have the clarity. It brings out full strength flavor, but a lot of people with filter coffee are looking for some subtlety. They're looking for some flavor notes, and it's not a burr set that is designed for that, but again, it can be used for that. As always, I recommend that if you want to have a grinder for espresso and one for filter, then you have 2 separate grinders, even if the filter grinder is a hand grinder. But nevertheless, yes, it will, and it will return to its espresso setting very obediently. For milk, 5 out of 5, because it is a burr set designed for medium dark, darker, etc. And for that, it really, if you have the right bean, the coffee, chocolate caramel notes really punch through the milk. And I've tried this both for the dairy and for oat milk, and it really gives you that satisfying coffee flavor that you can experience through the milk. So definitely 5 beans out of 5 for milk. That's the summary. Let's have a look at some specs and main features. So specs, it weighs in at 3.8 kg. It's got a stainless steel body. It has a 38 mil conical burr. Now, don't get all hot and sticky over the size of the conical burr, whether it's flat, whether it's conical. These things are very much secondary to the geometry or the cut of the burr. So this will perform as well as some 83 mil burrs that I've had for this particular style of espresso, which I've highlighted in the previous slide. Grind range, espresso to French press. For French press, it's actually quite good. I mean, you're going to get a lot of body. You're not going to get a lot of clarity, but that often is the case with French press in any event. Stepped adjustment. Now, on WPM's website, it has this weird thing where it says 11 steps. There's a whole lot more than that. It's just that there's numbers 1 and then a lot of steps in between it until you get to 2. So don't be put off by the fact that it says 11 steps. There's a whole lot more. It's just that numbered 1 through 11 on the dial is what they're talking about. Hopper capacity, actually 450 grams more than I remembered. So plenty there. It's promoted as light commercial, which is quite interesting. I think when I think of the other light commercial grinder that's also designed for home use, the Mazophilos, it's certainly not in that category, but price-wise, it's also not in that category as well. But WPM are a brand which pride themselves on durability and reliability. And because it's got next one is belt drive, designed to reduce heat transfer. I think these two features go together. One of the big problems in a cafe is that the burrs can heat very quickly, and that affects what the result you get in the cup. It can be a lot more sour, etc. So because essentially you're extracting the coffee at a higher heat temperature than you were wanting to do. So what a belt drive does is it actually reduces heat transfer. So I get that WPM are saying, look, this could be a cafe-based grinder, but I believe it would be intended for perhaps 2 hours of grinding a day. But it could be a good grinder for a cafe who just has the odd, perhaps decaf, put the decaf beans in there. So, but interesting to note, WPM, the brand that prides themselves on durability and reliability, are so confident about the durability and reliability of this grinder, they're saying, yep, could be used in a cafe. So that's the summary. Let's have a look at the big features that I quite like about the grinder. Now, these screenshots are taken from WPM's website, so forgive me, these words are not added by me. A little bit of marketing hype in there, but nevertheless, this is the grind portafilter fork. So you pop your portafilter in there, grind directly into the portafilter, and there's a little light. And I don't know why they have such a dim photo, but I suppose it's to illustrate the fact that there is illumination here. It works really, really well. It's nice to be able to see what's happening as the grounds go into the cup. It also features, as I mentioned before, this upgraded bird, which does a stellar job. It's a WPM burr. Also, it has this very nice feel. It's called a tact switch, and it's a little button that sits at the back where you put the portafilter in the portafilter basket at the top rim here. You just touch that, you program it for 1 cup or 2 cup or whatever, we'll get to that in a moment, but you can actually do it manually as well. But whether you program it, whether you do it manually, you just push it in, the grinder is activated by that little tact switch at the bottom, and it is really tactile. So you have this really nice spongy sense that's not too firm, it's not too soft, and it's incredibly responsive. So never once did I accidentally stop grinding or start grinding because the switch is really well sorted. So I do think it's a feature. The other reason I wanted to put this one in here is to remind me that the anti-static design works incredibly well. Now, as always, you need to season the burrs. With these burrs, a kilo should be enough. But once you've seasoned them with a kilo of supermarket beans, you're going to have remarkably little static or ground spraying all over the place. And that's quite important. I was grinding all the time without any sort of funnel or dosing funnel or anything like that. And it just, you can see around the room here, and of course this is a WPM photo, so it could be doctored. But I'll show you mine in a moment. There's just no grounds that's spraying over the edge of the basket, provided you don't, grind for too long. It has a touchscreen display, which is very intuitive. And I don't know if you've had a lot of experience with other grinders or not, but some of them, you have to push one button, 3 or 4 times, and then you have to get a dial and move it around, and you have to push the button to reset it. And it does my head in. This is very, very intuitive. It has 1 cup on this side, you can touch that, and then if you hold your finger down a couple of seconds, you can adjust this by tap, 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 or hold your finger down, and it'll increase or decrease the number of seconds that the grinder will grind for. And I'll show you how I do that in a moment. As I said, the 2 cups is on this side. If you press them both at the same time, then you can do it manually and just stop the ground when you want to. So it's full featured in that regard. Let's go into the grinder lab and have a look and see what it looks like actually in situ in use. So I'm going to pop over here and press the go button. So 12 grams, I don't know, a handful of seconds. So certainly fast enough. So the next Grinder Lab video is, I wanted to show you how to release the hopper. It's got, and there's also a couple of other things in here I want to show you. So it's got a little button at the rear of the grinder, and you use this for 2 purposes. One is to take the hopper off. There you go, hopper is off. And the other, so this little trapdoor stops the beans going down if you want to clean it. Now I've got these 3 arrows here because the second purpose of the, let me just point it out, this button at the back of the grinder, you'll see a little flange on the right and there's another one a bit hidden on the left. So to release the upper burr carrier and the collar, what you do is, first of all, you lock your dial position in place so that when you put everything back together again, it's going to return to the exact same dial setting, which is a terrific feature. If you're deep cleaning it and you put everything back together again, you just want it to carry on where you left off. So to release this collar and upper burr carrier, you're going to push that flange in over here and push that button. And the whole thing lifts out, and it's very easy to clean and also very easy to put back again. So that's me just showing you the locking and unlocking of the dial setting. Putting it back in is a breeze, and it's a breeze because it shows you where to line up the upper hopper with the base. So this is me just showing you, if you want to, you can just put in 4 doses of beans. I've just put in 4 20-gram doses of beans. And that's going to, instead of filling the whole hopper up, that's going to keep the beans fairly fresh. I don't think there's any significant deterioration in roasted beans from within 48 hours. So what I would do is, if I was using this, you want to have some beans in there the whole time, because it is designed to have, when it's grinding, it's designed to have some beans sitting on top of the beans that are getting ground. But what you can do is just, as I said, put 2 days worth in, and then every time you do a grind, put another 20 grams in, or 18 grams, or whatever else it is that you're using. And this one, I'm just showing you how to use the touchscreen display. So I'm just going to do a random grind at 10 seconds, and whoops, a bit too much. So 26 grams. So I'm going to take the 10 seconds, just hold your finger down on the right-hand side of the dial. This is for the 2-cup setting. And I'm going to take it down to 8 seconds. Get rid of the grounds and 0. Have another crack. See what we get to at 8 seconds. 23 grams. Closer. So I'm just going to put the 2-cup setting down to 6 seconds. You see how easy and intuitive it is. So we've got it down to 6 seconds. And have a grind, and you'll see that's pretty much spot on where I want it to be at 18 grams. That'll do me. So let's dive into what I'm not so keen on this particular grinder. And there's always something I don't like. First thing, of course, is that I personally prefer single dose grinders, but a whole lot of people don't want to be faffed around with that. So as I said, just my personal preference. It's quite light. I do find some reassurance in equipment that's heavy. Noise level is average. It's not a dislike as such. Just to note that if you want a super quiet grinder, this is not a super quiet grinder. It's not a particularly noisy grinder either. It's just an average grinder. Aesthetics, probably not for me, although a lot of people, as I said, beauty in the eye of the beholder, you're going to love it or you're not. What do I like most? And there's quite a few things here I do like. And as I said, you've got to scratch beneath the surface to find out what those features are. The light comes on when grinding. We like that. Talked about the tack switch. The feel is perfect. Single versus 2-cup grind options. A lot of grinders do have that, so it's not a biggie in and of itself, but again, nice to be able to have it. Easy to program grind duration via the touchscreen. Touched on that. Very generous hopper size. Excellent Italian style espresso body and full flavor. Dial grind size lock switch, very clever, so that if you do a deep clean and you put everything back together, you haven't lost your grind setting. Very easy hopper and upper burr removal for cleaning. We've demonstrated that. The brand is known for reliability, durability, and full functionality, engineered for light cafe duties, which gives you some assurance if you're at home using it that this thing is built for quite a long lifetime. For cafes, belt drive for minimizing heat buildup. Finally, let's have a look at who this is built for. I believe it would be for you if, couple perhaps not for you, if you're lovers of a light, bright espresso. It's not ideal for filter, but French press is good. I've mentioned that. It's very partner friendly. Partner can go in the morning, doesn't want to faff around with different dial settings or whatever else. They can just push the on button, stick the portafilter in, and they're good to go, because it's going to stop grinding when it's meant to stop grinding. Those wanting faff-free programming, the display is great for that. Reliable, well-sorted, durable. Milk coffee lovers. And finally, medium to dark and dark espresso lovers. So if you tick all these boxes here, and you're not ticking those two, then this is a great option for you. So that's it from me. Make sure you head over to Tom's Grind Lab. Oh, subscribe and like. I've got a lot more great content coming your way, including a lot of grinder comparisons. And of course, the Burnament is coming out a month after next, finally. So also head over to www.tomsgrinderlab and download my espresso troubleshooting and optimization guide. That's it from me. Hope this helps your grinder buying, making decision. Cheers, everyone.